Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you're doing well. Who's this guy? It's Andy Schectman from Miles Franklin. We're going to talk about gold. Sorry if there's a little bit of an echo, but we're going to get through it for you. Why? Because we like you. Let's do this. All right, we're back. Not that we ever went anywhere, but Andy, how are you doing?
I'm great, Trav. How are you, brother?
I'm doing awesome. I want to talk a couple things real quick. I want to talk about China and Russia and this new reserve currency, but also I want to talk about what's going on in the markets really quickly because my personal broker works for you and she has been crushing it when it comes to orders. A lot of orders are coming in. We're seeing much larger orders, some that we can't disclose right now until they're obviously done and settled, and obviously we never talk about who they're from because of privacy.
For sure.
But it's neat to be able to see these increased orders, the dollar amount.
For sure. No, I think you have a great, you're beginning to have an awakening by people who have never even given second thought to leaving money in the bank or leaving money with brokerages. And I think that's beginning to change rapidly. Whether it be just concerns about the dollar or leaving money in the bank, or actually looking at the performance of people's 401ks, which seem to have dropped by 20, 30, 40%. For the very first time, people are waking up to alternatives. And in my career, I've never seen an awakening by the mainstream quite to the way that we have.
I completely agree. Sorry, I've got a little dog here nibbling on me. And this amazing Florida weather, the Ninja, is hot right now. I just came inside. So are you seeing, and then we'll move into Russia and China, but are you seeing people with a heightened sense of either fear or uncertainty, and that's why they're moving into these metals?
It's less really fear, it's uncertainty, and I'd call it concern. I think the concern about leaving money in the banking system more than anything. I don't know that people have really grasped what inflation does or what it will do to their holdings. But what I do think is the concern right now more than anything is just the fragility of the banking system. Every single day, that's the comment I get. Don't want to leave my money in the bank. Don't want to leave my money in the bank. So maybe the fact that people's 401ks are starting to bleed, we're seeing a greater awakening.
Completely agree. And in this day and age when even a billionaire is having a hard time getting money out, that is absolutely startling.
The large order that we did, the reason she wanted us to talk to the public is to let everyone know that for nearly 4 days her money was held hostage in a bank, and she was obviously has to be one of their larger depositors, and the fact that she didn't have access for over 3.5 days and had to threaten legal action in order to actually get them to wire the money was extraordinary.
And with that being said, guys, if you are moving large sums of money and you're not the only ones and you need to vault, let me know. I have my personal broker that I trust implicitly, if that's the right, that's the right word,
That's the right word.
The Ninja and his vocabulary. I'll put the link below because that's so important that you can move your money properly and then have access to it whenever you need it. Because even vaulting, I've noticed it's within 24 hours I can see the money in my bank sometimes.
Yeah, I think our vaulting program with BRICS is second to none. We have the only fixed rate in North America, and everything we do is third party with BRICS to make sure that there is a separation between where people purchase their money and where it's stored. And we also offer storage, free storage, for till the end of the year on any metal that's transferred in from other places, and even if it's in your home, and we help you ship it up to one of our depositories.
Yeah, and BRICS isn't a job of taking someone's metal or money, just so you know. They didn't get to where they were by that. But let's dive into China and Russia. Jim Rickards says that they will not be successful starting a reserve currency because they need a bond market. What do you think about that?
I think that's couldn't be further from the truth. I think the reserve currency that they're building is a coalition between other countries, and they're all joining together. And I think the united front that they are providing, I think, will open up channels. Because look, the BRICS nations represents 80% of human population or more, and so I think they don't need a bond market the way that he's saying. I think there are a lot of other things that they have going for them, if not a robust bond market.
We were down here at Boca Raton, and I got to watch Andy speak, and Rick came up to you the other night. We were having an amazing time talking with the speakers, and he says that you were up for the #1 speaker award. And Not only do I agree with that, but it's because I saw everybody super excited, but it was the passion in his voice. And Nomi Prinz said the other night, she said, I was so happy to hear you speak of the One Belt, One Road initiative because nobody else is speaking about that in regards to this current event. Now, I know you're trying to get up to Silver Symposium. We don't know if you're going to be able to yet, but that fire, I haven't seen recently. Talk about the fire in your voice. It sounds funny, but this is such a big deal, this Belt and Road.
The Belt and Road Initiative is one of the biggest deals that I think is not talked about.
Yep.
You were the first person to really open my eyes to the inner workings of it. But I'll tell you, the fact that you have 75% of human population just in this initiative, the largest infrastructure project ever attempted in human history, all of it settling on the new Chinese digital yuan, just speaks to, I think, the ultimate de-dollarization and the trend of de-dollarization. Now, that's just the C and the S in BRICS. You got the B, R, and I, plus all the other countries that are joining the BRICS nations, which make this that much bigger. And I think that the whole thing is symbolic of an infrastructure, not just in the BRICS nations, but in the coalition of the BRICS, not just in the infrastructure of the Belt Road Initiative, but in the coalition and the infrastructure of the BRICS nations, which are all moving in one common direction, and that is away from dollar hegemony. And the BRICS or the Belt Road Initiative is just a perfect example of it.
Well, and let's talk about the I. India just opened up an international gold exchange, and the gold is priced two ways, dollars and in rupees. That, I think, is a game changer because I don't think people realize they're going to see more and more transactions happening in rupees. That blows me away. And then Zimbabwe comes out with its first gold coin, nationally minted gold coin, which I think we need to try and get some because I think they're about to be collector's items because they're just not going to work. Because, hey, here, you can finally hedge inflation. Think about that, everyone. The country that's been famous for being horrible when it comes to printing money and causing hyperinflation and saying, all right, you can finally hedge inflation, just take all that crap currency and give it to us for our gold coin. But I don't even know if, wow, will the government even want their own currency for that gold?
Of course not. And it's what's Gresham's law, good money will push out bad. So I don't know that it'll work or not. I think it's kind of neat when you're right, the poster child for hyperinflation is now recommending gold. And when you talk about India, let's not forget we're their largest trading partner. And they just also made a declaration that all domestic import and exports can be settled in rupee as well. This is a common thread that I've been speaking about. This is what gives me the passion to talk about things the way that I did at Rick's show. And because I think really what's happening with the Federal Reserve is a sideshow. People are not focused on, I think, the real issue, and that is that the Fed doesn't want to raise rates, but the rest of the world is moving in a direction that ultimately will allow the market to move rates on its own.
Yes, which would ultimately bring the dollar to less and less value in a rapid form. And it blows me away. Every single time a country makes a deal with another country to do trade in their currency, either one, that is less dollars needed. So the Fed can't constantly export this inflation. So they're going to have to add to their balance sheet. It blows me away that people just don't get this.
Yeah, they don't get it. And with that added inflation and the decrease in the dollar, when the value of the dollar is decreasing because there's less demand, especially that so much of these transactions ultimately would have settled on dollars. So you have less demand for the dollar, which means you have to compensate for the value, and that means rising interest rates. So in other words, I wonder, and this is the question that I posed to the audience during my presentation, and I posed to you, and that is, was the weaponizing of the dollar, the pushing of Russia out of SWIFT, was it intended or unintended? Well, I think the forcing of Russia out was intentional, but were the consequences foreseen? Did they know that this would incite de-dollarization, that this would force so many people in the world or countries in the world who are on the fringe of, are we U.S. or dollar friendly? Are they thinking, are we next? And so you have this pushing of these countries away from the dollar. And I guess what I'm getting at is, did they understand that the pushing of Russia out of SWIFT would ultimately lead to massive de-dollarization, which would lead to inflation and rising rates, which would do the work for Powell that he is afraid to do, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Well, we definitely know Janet Yellen didn't know that because that lady's still trying to figure out what a recession is.
Right.
No, I don't think they did. And now, to be honest with you, I think what happened is pride comes before a fall, people. And I believe that the U.S. Federal Reserve, that is not federal, it is not a reserve, they have zero reserves, and the U.S. government have become so prideful, being able to allow to export that inflation, become wealthy, high on the hog, is now coming back to bite them. I don't think they knew it at all.
Well, then, you know, I would often say something like, are they that stupid, or are they that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So because if you think about it, I mean, what reason would anyone want to like, look, for example, China, who sold 100 billion of our treasuries over the last 6 months, and that is the natural reaction. If
Yes.
they have their eyes set on Taiwan, why would they own our bonds, and why would they ever want to invest in our country when they fear nationalization, when they fear sanctions, or you know, the same type of treatment that Russia has gotten, which, you know, Russia has proven that these sanctions don't work, and all that it has done, in my opinion, is incentivize the rest of the world to find a backdoor to the system.
Everyone, if you think that our financial leaders are that dumb and have no clue, type 1 in the comments section. And then the last question I want to pose to you is, talking about China, they are now selling off treasuries. They are pretty much, essentially, sounds like net sellers at this point. What do you think? I mean, like you said, they are putting it now in our face. You know, we're now selling, and they straight up said we're going to make that reserve currency. So let me ask you the golden question, and I can't mean that more serious. Do you think, could you see this new reserve currency that they're putting out, as everyone's laughing, could you see it being backed by gold?
Ultimately, I do. I've been saying that for a long time.
Yeah.
If you look at the RICS and BRICS, Russia, China, India, South Africa, these are the largest gold producing, gold accumulating, and you know, countries that have a long, rich history in understanding what gold truly means. Yeah. And I think when you look at the fact that over 12 billion in sales or transactions have been successfully conducted on the new Chinese digital yuan, in my opinion, they will use the success of the digital yuan experiment, if you will, over the last 2 years, and the rails that have proven to be flawless, and they'll peg gold to it on a new central bank currency, with all of the BRICS nations allocating gold to the new currency, with the immutability of it and the authenticity of it denoted on a distributed ledger. So absolutely, I think they'll use the success of the new yuan, coalesce, and ultimately peg gold. You're looking at the largest gold accumulators and producers in the world, and they understand the significance of it. I think ultimately that's the playbook, 100%.
I completely agree. Man, Andy, thank you so much for coming on the channel.
Absolutely.
Thank you for hosting me at your amazing house. Love this stuff.
I'm not going to let you leave, man.
Dude, I seriously don't want to leave, except for I could deal without the humidity. All right, guys, well, with that being said, thank you so much. Guys, check out the links below if you want to start moving money into gold. It's not financial advice. It's what I do. This is my personal broker I give you the lead to, and I absolutely trust her, and she's crushing it. She works for Andy, so she's taught well.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be associated with you and your friend, and love hanging with you. So
totally appreciate it. Let me
till
throw
next
out,
time.
Yeah, and I want to show a real quick shout out. Let's see if he sees this, to Andy's father. What's his first name?
David.
Yeah, it's Mr.
David.
Schectman. But David Schectman. David, I hope you do great things in the next few months. I know you're in Minnesota. I wish I could have met you in person. Guys, that being said, the Economic Ninja and Andy Schectman are out.